So I'm sitting here on my extremely busy Saturday night, arguing with imaginary Zoomers, and so I wanted to share a little bit of what had popped into my brain head regarding one of my least favorite subjects, the anti-Semitismus, the successor to Jew hate and predecessor of anti-Zionism. And it's one of these things, right? The kids these days, right? The medium is the message. Okay, so talking about social media, like the message of TV is that looks are the most important thing, right? I guess the message of radio was like you're part of a coherent community, like you had fireside chats and Hitler's speeches and all this kind of stuff, right? And then TV era, it's like looks are the most important thing was the message, right? And if the message, if social media has a message, and it does, the message is jump on the bandwagon, kids. Be part of the group. Get those likes. You don't want to get ratioed, right? And so, it's when it comes to issues with Der Juden, it creates kind of a problem for people, right? Because they don't really have the background. They don't have the knowledge about anti-Semitism or Jew hate or anti-Zionism now it is, to really, understand that in general, jumping on the bandwagon is not a good idea. In this case in particular, jumping on the bandwagon is an especially bad idea. You're not putting yourself in good company. And it's a big red flag when everybody starts going after those people, and what it comes down to, why people are so, beyond just normal humanity, why they're so eager to do it right now is a lot of it is this message of social media of being, a follower and jumping on the bandwagon and being part of the frenzy. And the thing is, though, there's a failure on the part of Jewish leadership in America and probably globally, I guess, but definitely in the United States, where what's anti-Semitism education for most people in this country? They make them sit there and watch Schindler's List, and that's kind of it, right? Like, okay, then we're surprised that people don't get it. It's like, of course they don't get it. And there's a lot of things behind it that I could go into, I will go into with the way that, we have a progressive class that's running the discourse. They're running it through this kind of Lippmannite program. And, part of this discourse is the idea that you kind of have to talk down to people. You kind of have to just tell them, wear the mask, right? Or whatever. They want to believe that they have to be the ruling class, the governing class, and that people need to be talked down to. And so instead of like really getting into the historical nitty gritty, they think people are too dumb for that, or they don't have the attention span. A lot of people don't. But, you still kind of need to put the information out there for that like 20 to 60% of the population, or 80% even, that would be interested in it. You should at least make the information available, even if they have trouble like assimilating all of it. Just knowing that, there's something here I don't get. Knowing there's something I don't get. That can be really important, just for helping prevent stuff and things like we've been dealing with over this past year. It is March 1st at about 10:15 Mountain Time is when I'm recording this. So, it's been a kind of a weird year and a half or so, I guess you could say, a little less than a year and a half. But the education's bad. It's like, here, kid, just watch Schindler's List. The Jews are victims, just they're victims, and that's it, right? And so, the idea that, well, actually, the Jews didn't see the Holocaust coming precisely, but there were a lot of Jews who understood that the situation in Europe was very, very bad, and it was not getting better, and that they needed to get the fuck out, right? And that's the context in which Zionism began, modern Zionism began. People not knowing that is kind of problematic in light of current events, right? People not really appreciating that the Dreyfus affair was a thing. I really compare the current year that's happened with the Dreyfus affair. It just has this, all the demonization and the frenzy and, just people really going mask off and just, and not realizing, not knowing about that as a part of Western history, as an important part of Western history, right? That's a problem, and that's a failure of Holocaust. And my Holocaust education. I mean, I even say it, right? I just say Holocaust education. I don't say anti-Semitism education or education about Jew hatred or the history of Jews in Europe. I just say it's Holocaust education, right? That's kind of. And it's not that you shouldn't know about the Holocaust, but it's not like the story is definitely a lot deeper and more complicated. I mean, it goes back, like I said, anti-Semitism is the successor to anti-Judaism, to Jew hatred, which is based on all this sort of stuff from the Gospels and from the epistles to the Romans and shit like that, right? Where people start thinking that the Jews need to convert in order to bring about the second coming, and that gets translated into these Kantian notions of the revolution, and the Jews need to stop being Jews in order to let the higher mind just descend upon the earth and all this kind of shit, right? It's not. I don't think. I'm not an expert on the German Enlightenment, okay? But I'm just saying, it was a successor, right? Modern anti-Semitism is a successor to that kind of Jew hatred. And, and now you have anti-Zionism replacing that, and you have like literally the Pope putting baby Jesus on the Palestinians. And so the Jews from the Bible are Israel now. And it's like literally the same phenomenon where anti-Judaism became anti-Semitism, and now it's becoming anti-Zionism. And people won't see it because they haven't been told that it's there. This is a serious problem with education about bigotry against Jews, which is similar to a lot of bigotries, but also different. And I want to emphasize it's a problem with the leadership of the Jewish community. The leaders of the Jewish community have failed very, very badly by having this attitude of we just, drill Holocaust, just make it about the Holocaust, make it about a victim narrative, instead of actually educating people about this complex and deep subject. And again, it's because it flatters their perception of being a governing class, of being higher status. So much of the leadership decisions that Jews in America have made over the past few decades have been driven by just this enthusiasm at getting accepted. And so they went along with a lot of shit they really shouldn't have gone along with. And so now we have this failure, this really, really bad failure to even, it's like you're telling about the Holocaust. You can at least also tell them about the Dreyfus affair. People have no idea about the Dreyfus affair, right? It's very, very bad. So, and then you get all these kids. It's like, well, everybody's on the bandwagon. I should jump on the bandwagon. Oh, well. All right. Well, okay. I'm going to go actually try to do something productive and stop venting.